Hello, my friends, it's Grace, and welcome back to another video. It is time for a June book haul. I'm not really sure entirely how long it's been since I last did one, but this might be like a month and a half worth of books. I was really good for a long time, and then I bought a lot of books in a very short span of time, so we are going to go through them. I think there's a ton of range here. So hopefully you find some of these interesting. I know that I'm excited about them. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so first up we have They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, which is a thriller that I've had my eye on for a while. Just never bought it for some reason, but essentially the main plot of this book is that there is a professor at a university who basically it says that every year she searches for the worst man on campus and plots his murder. And she has always gotten away with these murders with her like expert planning, and people don't notice the murders, I guess, or at the very least like they investigate, but they never find her out. This year is a little different because I think she loses control of the situation a little bit, and we also have another main character, Carly, who had an abusive father but has kind of escaped to university, but she makes this best friend, and her best friend gets assaulted at a party and she wants revenge. So I assume that somehow these plot lines are going to intermix. Perhaps this worst man on campus that is going to be the victim of a murder is in fact this guy that assaulted our other character's best friend. I don't know, but for some reason this one looked really good to me. I think at one point or another I heard good things about it, but I can't even remember now. I just know that it looked interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I think I really like this type of thriller. Okay, so next up we have The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill, which is a retelling of what I believe is a myth, or maybe just an old story called The Crane Wife. So we're following a teenage girl whose mother weaves beautiful tapestries. She's an artist by trade. And then one day her mother brings home this 6-foot-tall crane who is basically like compelling her to drop everything else and to like weave this tapestry that he wants. And that's basically all I know about it, and I think that that's all I really need to know because this is like super short. I honestly didn't realize when I bought it that this is a novella. I don't really know why I thought that it was a novel, but it is a really small little guy, so it sounds very compelling, and the fact that it's based on another story or a myth is very interesting to me, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. Okay, so next we have an absolutely gorgeous book, which is Sundial by Catriona Ward, and I'm not gonna lie, The Crane Husband has a beautiful cover too. That was a factor in why I wanted it, but Sundial is, I believe, like fantasy horror. So our main character, Rob, seems like she's trying to escape her past, trying to have like a normal suburban life, but she sees that her daughter Callie starts kind of collecting bones, whispering to imaginary friends, and she fears that her past is coming back to haunt her daughter. So they go back together to Sundial in the Mojave Desert. Actually, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Mojave, is that right? But they go on this journey into the desert together, and things ensue. It says that they fear that only one of them will leave alive, and I think it sounds super cool. I'm excited about it. So next up I have this short story collection, Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu. And it says, in the 12 Unforgettable Tales, the strange is made familiar and the familiar is strange, such that a girl growing wings on her legs feels like an ordinary rite of passage, while a bug-infested house becomes an impossible Kafkaesque nightmare. Each story builds a new world all its own. A group of children steal a haunted doll. A runaway bride encounters a sea monster. A vendor sells toy boxes that seemingly control the passage of time. An insomniac is seduced by the Sandman. These visions of modern life wrestle with themes of death and technological consequence, guilt and sexuality, and unmask the contradictions that exist within all of us. Honestly, I didn't know anything about this. I literally just kept seeing it at the bookstore every time I went, and every time I thought, I think that looks really cool, I'm gonna buy it. And then I just didn't. And so I think it took me like 5 coincidental trips in there to finally be like, I'm just gonna buy this because I want to read it. Like, I'm at that point where I feel like it's risky to pick up a book that I've never even heard of, but I just think it looks really, really cool. Then next up, we have a nonfiction book, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of Their Lost World by Steve Brusatte. I'm assuming that's how you say that last name. Quite honestly, this is just indulging like my childhood obsession with dinosaurs. I used to love them. This is written by a paleontologist from Scotland, and so that interests me in it as well. I'm a big, like in my nonfiction, I love for it to be science-based. So that's just something for like, that's just a me thing. Like, I've never really been attracted to, I guess, what could be considered like self-help books. If it's a self-help book, it's fine. If it's backed up by empirical evidence, I am like 99% more likely to be interested in it than if it's not. So, not that this is a self-help book, obviously, but my point is, when you put science behind something and you tell me that a scientist is writing it, I get very interested. So, I think this is going to be very cool. I mean, I think it's going to be very self-explanatory. It's going to deliver exactly what the title says, and that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so next up we have The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, which is a thriller where the main character, what is her name? Alex. She has a dream of being a published author, but she doesn't really think that it's gonna happen for her. But then she gets invited to this writing retreat where it's held by like a famous published author. And so she's really interested to go. And then she finds out when she gets there that it's basically a contest. It's a month long, and everyone that was invited is going to have to write a novel like from scratch, and whoever like writes the best one will win a publishing deal. And so that's kind of all I know. Obviously this is a thriller. I've heard that it gets pretty crazy, so some other things are going to happen from there, but that's a solid start for me. Alex's rival is also going, so I assume that there's going to be some drama and spicy things happening between them. And yeah, I think that this just... Oh, never mind. I stopped reading the synopsis before one very important point, which is that one of the writers vanishes during a snowstorm and sinister things start happening. So this is definitely going to be one of those like isolation, forced proximity stories, and I'm always a fan of that. Next up, we have another thriller, which apparently that's just what I'm on right now. And so this is A Death at the Party by Amy Stewart. And in this one, our main character, Nadine, is having a summer like garden dinner party. And I believe that it is for her mother's birthday. Or no, it's someone's birthday. Yeah, it's her mother's birthday. She finds a dead body in the basement. Her guests are at the party not knowing anything is wrong. We don't know who the body is. We know that Nadine is hiding some dark secrets. Feels like a very classic thriller-esque setup, but I think the thing that I liked about it is that it seems like the entire book is going to take place at this party, and hopefully there will be a mystery to solve and clues to put together, and that sounds very appealing to me. Next up, I don't know if it's right to call this a thriller or not. Maybe suspense is the better word, but we have Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rice. And this is about a small isolated community. What's the name of it? Oh, it's an Anishinaabe community. It doesn't actually say the name, but this is a northern community, and I think that just in the winter they're kind of cut off from resources, and they get some visitors, and I think that the community kind of starts crumbling. People start dying, and I don't know whether it's a mystery or whether it's just kind of like suspense building as the society crumbles and they have to focus on survival, and it seems very tense and drawn out. And I've heard good things about this one as well, and this is another one where so many times in Indigo I have just seen it and thought that it looked really good. I really like the cover and the title, which first drew me in, but the story sounds really interesting as well. Then we're kind of out of the thriller mood because the next book up is Beach Read by Emily Henry. And so I do have book lovers, and I have read People We Meet on Vacation. So I have not read Book Lovers, but I've heard people say that Beach Read is actually their favorite of her books. And so I thought that I might actually pick this up and read it next. Because I don't really have a preference for whether I was to read Book Lovers or Beach Read next, but I knew that I wanted to read more of her existing works before I picked up the newest one, Happy Place, even though I do think that the premise and plot of that one sounds super interesting. So basically, Beach Read, we have Augustus Everett, who is an acclaimed author of literary fiction, and January Andrews writes best-selling romance. And so basically she writes happy books, he writes sad books, and they have given themselves the challenge to defeat their writer's block. They are going to try to write what each other writes. They're going to try and write the opposite. She is going to try and write the next great American novel, and he is going to spend the summer writing something happy. And so I think this sounds really interesting. It sounds like there could be a super interesting dynamic between these two characters who are both like authors and artists, but just take such a different view and look at it, and how they're trying to swap and how that might impact their personalities, how they view the world, the relationship between them, etc. So I think this could be really good. And I honestly, until like looking at it in the bookstore, I had no idea what this one was about. And now that I do know what it's about, I am 100 times more interested in reading it. Then next up we have a literary fiction called Sea Change by Gina Chung, and admittedly the first thing that caught my eye about this one was the cover. I think it's gorgeous. I had never heard of this book before, but we follow our main character Ro, and she's in her 30s, and she finally just feels like she's in kind of a rut in life. She doesn't talk to her mom. Her boyfriend went to join a mission to Mars. I'm not sure if this is like a near future setting, but she works at a mall aquarium, and her best friend is working on planning her wedding, so she's kind of like not in a super strong place with her either. And she has her companion Dolores, a Pacific octopus, and it's a link to her father, who was a marine biologist and passed away. And so this I think this kind of story is just about Ro finding herself and doing what she can to get herself out of this rut in her life. And I don't really know what grabbed me so much about this description, but I think that it's kind of like you can go either way. Like, you can lose yourself, or you can decide to be present in your life as it exists around you and try and make better of it and try and make the best of it. And so I'm hoping that this is going to have some emotional catharsis and that I'll be happy with the emotional arc. Okay, next up we have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune, and this is, well, this author also has Every Summer After, and I've seen her books a lot. And I don't know if that's because she's Canadian. It quite possibly is. Why it is advertised so much here is because of that reason. But when I read the back of this, what I realized was that this book is set in Muskoka, which is where my family's cottage is. So I pretty much decided immediately that I needed to read it, or that I was interested in it. But when I figured that out, that it's set in like Toronto and the Muskokas, that I literally needed to buy it. So the main plot here is that our main character Fern had this kind of emotional experience with meeting this guy Will in her early 20s, and they spent like 24 hours together, and they kind of just connected as two souls do, and then drifted apart. And they had a deal to meet 1 year later, but she showed up and he did not. So it is many years later now, and she is running a lakeside Muskoka resort, and it says that it's something she vowed never to do, because it seems like it ran in the family. And then this guy kind of comes back, and he arrives and wants to help her, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know, I think this is going to be super interesting. It doesn't seem like your typical romance setup, and I'm not sure if that is truly what it is, or whether this is more of like literary fiction, personal growth with a side of romance, either one of which I would be fine with, and hopefully I'll enjoy it. Maybe this is a good book that I should read at the cottage. Then finally we have probably the only book in this haul that is like really on brand for me, which is The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie. So this completes my Abercrombie collection, because of course I stole/borrowed the standalone books, the Great Leveler books, from Ben so that I could read them, but I did own the first 2 books in this Age of Madness trilogy, and now I have the third one. Of course, I don't know at what point it came out in paperback, but I was waiting for it to come out in paperback so that I could buy it, and I felt like the time was fine to do that now because I am in the middle of the second standalone and I've made a lot more progress on the series as a whole, so I feel like it's appropriate that I could buy the final book, and now I have them all, so I'm ready to read them when the time comes. Okay, so those are the 12 books that were involved in today's book haul. I got pretty good deals on a lot of them. I mean, I did pay full price for a few of them, but I got pretty good deals on a few of them too, so it balances out just a little bit, and I'm really excited about all of them. I am branching out a little bit from my usual, but I think that it'll help me in my reading overall to try and have that balance, and I'm just looking for books that grab me. Like, I'm not limiting it by genre or anything like that. I'm just going for books that I'm really interested in, and I am really excited about all of these. So please do let me know what you think in the comments. If you have read any of these or if you have thoughts, I would love to hear them. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. I post new videos on most Mondays and Thursdays, and as always, I'll have my socials and Discord linked in the description if you're interested in any of that stuff, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!